With just 36 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. With just 36 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. There are just over 35 minutes left in this practice session. Chris Boardman posted a 109.601 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Rich Snape has a best lap time of 109.545. Marcus Singendonk posted 109.926 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 33 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Chris Boardman posted a 108.920 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic Singendonk has a best lap time of 108.948. Jimmy Linfield posted 141.490 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 30 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 30 minutes left in this practice session. With just 29 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Marcus Singendonk has a best lap time of 109.926. It's a lovely day for racing here at Donington Park National DM as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Dominic posted a 108.829 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Danny Darwin has a best lap time of 110.571. Constable Berry is getting to grips with the Civic in this practice session. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. Danny Darwin posted 1:10.362 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? David Constable-Berry has a best lap time of 1:09.035. Marcus posted a 1:10.606 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 22 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Chris Stokes is on their practice outlap. David has a best lap time of 1:08.821. Chris Boardman has a best lap time of 1:09.601. There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. David posted a 109.495 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 18 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. It's a lovely day for racing here at Donington Park National DM as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Sing and Donk posted 352.716 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Mac McFarquhar's on their practice out lap. Sing and Donk has a best lap time of 108.662. Jack posted a 131.706 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. Chris Stokes has a best lap time of 109.020. Marcus Singendonk posted 111.507 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 13 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Chris Stokes has a best lap time of 108.888. David Constable-Berry has a best lap time of 108.821. Mac McFarquhar's on their first practice flying lap. Brian posted a 109.482 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. Snake posted 109.551 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Jimmy Linfield has a best lap time of 109.763. With just 8 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Chris posted a 109.041 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Assetto posted 108.812 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Daniel Coxis is in Coppice. There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. Dominic Singendonk has a best lap time of 1:08.662. With just 4 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. James Allen has a best lap time of 1:08.964. David posted 1:08.981 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Rich Snape has a best lap time of 1:09.158. Farquhar is getting to grips with the Giulietta in this practice session. Brian posted a 1:08.870 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 0 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. John Astrop has a best lap time of 1:08.367. Jack Bedding has a best lap time of 1:08.390. Stokes posted 2:17.146 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Chris posted a 2:17.146 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? The anticipation is high as the drivers line up for the qualifying session at Donington Park National DM. You can feel the tension building. David Constable-Berry is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying time. Dominic Singendonk is on their outlap.
It's all about finding that balance between staying calm and focused while also pushing the limits.
It's all about strategy in these early moments. David Constable-Berry is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. David Constable-Berry crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. It looks like McFarquhar is getting ready to make their move. That's the outlap done for Mac. They'll now look to focus on their first flying lap. The adrenaline is pumping. Chris is on their outlap, warming. As Chris Stokes completes their outlap, they will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. This is where the mental game comes into play. Jack Bedding is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run.
They will want to get a good gap established for their first flying lap.
Wow, look at David go. They're really turning on the jets in this qualifying session. Constable-Berry has just completed that lap in 108.827. Their best lap so far is 108.827, putting them in P2. Will they be able to hold on to that spot? Daniel Coxis is on their first flying lap. Daniel Coxis has completed their first flying lap in 109.946. It's clear that Astrop is on a mission in this qualifying session. John crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. This is what it's all about. Dominic is putting on a show for the fans in this qualifying. Fovag has just completed a lap in 108.857. Let's see if they can improve on that time further. Chris Boardman is on their outlap.
Patience is key in these early moments, Hal. But I have a feeling
that's the outlap done for Chris Boardman. They'll now look to focus on their first flying lap. It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and Dominic Singendonk is nailing both.
It's certainly exciting to watch, but let's not forget, the goal is to secure a good starting position for the race.
A solid performance from David Constable-Berry as they currently hold position 4. However, with the session coming to a close, they'll need to find that extra bit of speed if they want to move up the grid. Constable-Berry will be happy having put themselves into third in this qualifying session.
It may be difficult for them to improve further on that. Sometimes trying too hard makes you slower. They need to drive smooth and smart.
It's been a struggle for Brian Patterson in qualifying. As of now, Patterson has completed their outlap. Not the ideal start for Alan in this qualifying session. Currently in 15th position, they'll be eager to put together a strong final lap to improve their standing. Alan crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. It hasn't been the best qualifying session for Chris Boardman so far. They find themselves in 11th position, which is not where they had hoped to be. However, there's still time left on the clock and they have the opportunity to make improvements.
You're absolutely...
Chris Boardman has just completed that lap in 109.305. Their best lap so far is 109.305, putting them in P11. Will they be able to hold on to that spot? And there goes David Constable-Berry, currently in position 6. They've shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, there's still time to improve their result. Constable Berry will be happy having put themselves into third in this qualifying session. Impressive display by Fauvargue, currently sitting in position 6. They've set a competitive time, but the question remains whether they can push even harder to secure a better starting position. What a performance from Dom. They currently occupy 6th on the grid. Can they maintain this strong position and secure a favourable starting spot?
You're absolutely right, Hal. Fauvargue's current position of 6th reflects their strong qualifying performance. Now they'll need to strategize and capitalize on this starting position.
Sky, the drivers are ready. Should we get it on?
Yes, Hal, we should definitely get it on.
John Astrop is on pole. The second place on the grid belongs to Jack Bedding, a driver with plenty of experience.
Jack will be taking no prisoners today.
On the third grid slot, we have David Constable Berry.
They are in a good place to mount a good challenge come the first corner.
Watch out for Dominic Singendonk, starting from the 4th grid position in today's race.
Singendonk is looking on for a strong result.
Mac McFarquhar lines up in 5th place as the engines rev and the race begins.
It's like they're on the outside looking in. Can they make their way to the front of the pack?
Starting from the 6th position, Dominic Fauvargue will need to navigate through the field to challenge for the win.
We've not seen the best from Dominic yet.
The 7th starting position belongs to Brian Patterson, who will be looking to make up ground early on.
Another mid-pack start for Brian Patterson.
In the middle of the pack, we have Chris Stokes starting from the 8th position on the grid.
Stokes in B-class.
Rich Snape is going to be starting from 9th. Lining up in 10th is James Allen. Chris Boardman has qualified 11th. Jimmy Linfield has some work to do from 12th on the grid, but they're not out of the race yet.
Where can Jimmy finish today?
Marcus Singendonk may have a bit of work to do starting from 13th on the grid. Daniel Coxis is in a solid position starting from 14th on the grid.
Daniel has been looking strong all week. Expect big things.
Danny Darwin may not be starting from pole, but they're still in with a shot.
We've seen great results from here. What has Danny got in store for us?
The flag drops and the race is underway. Drivers now face the challenge of avoiding first lap calamities.
These opening moments can make or break a driver's race. Strategy and skill are key to navigating this intense start.
The drivers are jockeying for position. John will be looking to get off to a good start and consolidate their position.
Let's hope they all brought their games today.
Racing is normally closely fought here at Donington Park National DM. I think we are in for a cracking race. The tension is palpable here. No one will want to make a crucial mistake on the first lap. As we watch the drivers fight it out in the first lap, I can already feel that this is going to be an epic race. Heartbreak for Chris Boardman as they slip down the field.
Sucks to be them, Hal.
A setback for Chris Boardman, who has just been passed. This is a thrilling battle as Alan edges closer to Brian Patterson in their fight for P8. There's not much to report on from Alan at the moment. They're just keeping their head down and putting in consistent laps. The gap between Jimmy Linfield and James is razor thin as they vie for ninth in this nail-biting contest.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Who will keep their cool under pressure, Jimmy Linfield or James? It's anyone's race.
A tough moment for Linfield, who has just lost a place, dumping them down to 15.
That's got to be frustrating. But Linfield is a skilled driver and they have what it takes to battle their way back up the field.
That won't be ideal for Astrop.
Donington Park National DM is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this. Brian Patterson is on a charge. Their split time shows they have upped their pace. Fovog wants to get into Alan's slipstream. It seems like Dominic is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Alan's.
It will be interesting to see if Alan can keep outpacing Dominic.
Braking development looks like that's a mistake from Jack. This could be costly.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 1 kph out there right now.
Alan could be looking for a way up the inside of Patterson. The gap between James and Patterson is widening. It's now up to 0.3 seconds.
It's not over yet, but Alan needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Patterson. It's a thrilling pursuit as Dominic is right behind Alan, keeping the pressure on for 8th place. Dom is following Alan so closely, they could start charging them rent for occupying the same space on the track.
Fovog has just managed to set their fastest lap of the race so far with a lap time of 1 minute. Well, it looks like we have a bit of a traffic jam on the track.
It's like rush hour out there. I mean, I know we're in a race, but can't we all just get along?
Ha. I don't think that's how it works. These drivers are here to win and they'll do whatever it takes to get ahead.
I guess you're right. But wouldn't it be great if they all just stopped for a cup of tea and a chat? We could have a lovely little race reunion.
It's a nail-biting showdown between these three drivers, their nose to tail, pushing their limits in every corner. Talk about being caught in the middle. James is sandwiched between their rivals, Dominic 0.2 seconds behind and Patterson 0.1 seconds ahead. The battle for position is on.
I couldn't agree more, Hal. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind provide valuable information for Alan. They need to assess the situation and use the gaps strategically to plan their moves.
Oh, the pressure is on for James Allen. Trapped between Dominic 0.2 seconds away and Patterson just ahead with a gap of 0.1 seconds, they must defend their position while seeking an opportunity to advance. Things are heating up as Jack Bedding closes in on John. The gap between them is down to practically nothing.
That's right, Jack Bedding is determined to pass Astrup and secure a higher position.
The best laid plans of mice and men Husky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Jack Senna right now as they're struggling to keep up with the Kiwi.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
It's an intense battle for position as Dom tries to outmaneuver not a real professor. This is edge-of-your-seat racing. Superb driving from Fovog, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. Oh dear, Dominic has dropped down to 10th.
That's got to hurt. Dominic Fovog will be kicking themselves right now.
Rich Snape wants to close that gap with Fovog. It's not looking good for Not a Real Professor. They're still behind Dominic Fovog and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. This race is getting even more intense. The drivers are pushing each other to the limit.
It's like they're playing a
braking update. A brilliant maneuver from Not a Real Professor who has just moved up the field. The adrenaline is pumping as Coxis gets within striking distance of Rich Snape in their race for 9th.
This is what separates the good from the great. The ability to stay focused and perform under pressure.
Great driving from Daniel Coxis, who has just gained a place and moved up to 9th.
You can't argue with results like that. Daniel is really making their mark on this race.
You know, Sky, during a long race like this, how easy is it for a driver to experience a lapse in concentration?
It can be quite easy, Hal. With so many factors.
Hold that thought, hold the phone. Huff break for Coxis, who has just lost a position.
Yes, but they can't give up. There's still plenty of time left in this race, and Daniel Coxis needs to stay focused and keep pushing.
The gap between Darwin in 15th and Marcus Singendonk remains over a second. Darwin is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 11 minutes?
That's right. Darwin in 15th knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Marcus Singendonk is no slouch and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
The gap between Danny and Marcus Singendonk is growing. It's now up to 0.8 seconds. It's a brilliant day for racing here at Donington Park National DM. I'm really enjoying this.
This race is truly epic. What a treat to be sat here witnessing the spectacle.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Mac trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on John Astrop. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Mac McFarquhar close in enough to mount a challenge? Good news for Lord Farquhar, the gap to John has decreased. It's now down to 0.7 seconds. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Marcus Singendonk will need to stay focused and keep pushing even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. Marcus Singendonk has just put in a faster lap than Linfield, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
The question is now, can Jimmy Linfield respond to that in kind? They're going to have to pick up the pace.
James Allen is running 11th. They are trying to catch Daniel Coxis. Looking at the lap times, Allen is not on pace with Coxis. Can they turn it around?
Can Allen turn this around?
It's a brilliant day for racing and the drivers are putting on a show.
Absolutely. What a great race we are witnessing today. These drivers are giving it their all, and it's a thrill to watch them compete at this level.
They're really pushing themselves and their machines to the limit, and it's paying off with some incredible driving.
It's a pleasure to be here today, Howard. You really can't beat the excitement of a good race, especially one as competitive as this.
This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory?
These two are putting on a masterclass in precision driving. Every turn, every acceleration calculated to perfection.
It looks like James is pulling away from Chris Boardman. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through McLane's.
This is a frustrating situation for Chris Boardman, but they can't give up just yet. They need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from James.
The tension is palpable. Who will come out on top in this epic showdown?
And the drivers know it too, Hal. They're giving it everything they've got, and you can see them pushing the limits of the car's capabilities.
An impressive showing from Stokes, who's gained positions and left Dominic Fovog in the dust.
Definitely. But there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Stokes needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
Heartbreak for Chris Stokes as they slip down the field. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Dominic, who is currently in P4. But David Constable-Berry is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Dominic Singendonk.
Indeed, the tension is palpable as Dominic Singendonk tries to reel in David Constable-Berry. But David Constable-Berry is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Can Dominic Singendonk find some extra pace to bring the fight to David Constable-Berry?
Oh, this is getting intense. Chris is just a few car lengths behind Dominic Fovog.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Who will have the speed and skill to come out on top?
A great moment for Chris, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
Chris Boardman has the pedal to the metal chasing Alan.
Do they have the speed for a move, and more importantly, do they have the talent?
It's not going to plan for Chris Boardman. They're still behind Alan and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
It's not ideal for Chris Boardman, but they can still turn this around. They need to focus on their own driving and not let the gap get any bigger.
As the race settles down, the drivers are really going at it.
It's like watching a high-speed game of chess. One wrong move and it could be game over, but these drivers are masters of their craft, always thinking 3 steps ahead.
That's right, and with the way they're maneuvering those cars, it's like they have superpowers.
It's almost like they have the power of flight, but instead of flying, they're speeding down the track like rockets.
I wonder if they have any spare rocket boosters for sale. The pressure is on for Chris Stokes as they try to catch up to the mid-table bandit.
Will Chris be able to make a move and pass Rich Snape?
It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Stokes gaining places and Rich Snape losing them. A setback for Stokes, who has just been passed. Look at that, Coxis is hot on the tail of Rich.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Daniel needs to stay patient and wait for Rich to make a mistake.
Coxis appears to be losing ground on Rich. They will need to pick up the pace a bit as they head into Coppice and see if they can get a good exit and gain some ground. Oh my, James is hot on the tail of Daniel Coxis. As they come into Wheatcroft Straight, I'm sure they may have a cheeky peek up the inside.
If this battle ends in tears, it could be like watching a high-speed domino effect, but let's hope they keep it clean and avoid any unplanned games.
Fantastic move from James Allen, who has just gained a position. The race is really heating up. Chris Boardman is hunting down Chris Stokes with everything they've got.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Can Chris Boardman close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
Chris Boardman could be on a charge here, Sky. They've just put in a quicker lap than Chris Stokes. Hold on a moment, Mack is pitting. The pursuit is on. James Allen is closing the gap on Rich, determined to claim P7. And James Allen has just won the place from Not a Real Professor. Marcus appears to be trying to find a way round Dominic. They could make a move on them in Hollywood.
They need to keep it on the black stuff. You don't get points for driving over weeds, not in this game.
The gap between Singondonk and Dom is widening. It's now up to 0.6 seconds. It's a close race between Not a Real Professor and Allen in 7th.
This is the moment where legends are made. These drivers will go down in history as the ones who fought tooth and nail.
Hold on a second. Oh dear, Chris Boardman has had an incident. Things are heating up as Lord Farquhar tries to close the gap to Brian Patterson.
I think they are going to take them.
Lord Farquhar needs to get more consistent. Sky, they've just put in a slower lap than Brian Patterson.
It will be interesting to see if Brian can keep outpacing Mac McFarker.
The drivers are showing their mettle today. It's a privilege to witness their skill on this challenging track.
The stakes have never been higher. This is a battle of skill and nerves.
That's right. These drivers are really pushing themselves to the limit, and it's incredible to see the level of focus and determination they're bringing to the track.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of courage to compete at this level, and these drivers have it in spades. Let's hope they can keep it up and give us a race to remember.
The battle for 12 is heating up as Marcus Singondonk tries to catch Jimmy Linfield in P12.
It's a game of strategy now as Singondonk hunts down Linfield. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
It seems like Singondonk is pushing. They're on for recording their best lap so far this race.
Can Marcus Singondonk keep it together?
In your experience, Sky, what was the most important aspect of managing tyre degradation during a race?
The most important aspect, Hal, was maintaining a good balance between pushing hard and conserving tires. Finding the sweet spot between aggression and tire preservation was key to optimizing race pace and strategy.
Daniel Coxis is on a mission, chasing Snape, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. I don't think that's the fastest way around Donington Park National DM. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed. Rich Snape is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to James Allen to 0.3 seconds. Tactics are clearly going to play an important part in this race.
They are going to need to look after their tires, and will want to keep something in them for the crucial latter stages, as their tires wear and fuel levels deplete and the handling changes.
And don't forget the track grip increases as more rubber gets laid down.
Indeed, the conditions are constantly changing, and the drivers need to adapt, otherwise it can cause crucial time and jeopardize their position.
The crowd is on tender hooks as Coxis in 9th chases after Rich Snape. The gap is just over a second and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Daniel Coxis find a way to catch up? It looks like we might get a battle between Daniel Coxis and Snake. It looks like Lord Farquaad is pushing hard to catch up to Brian Patterson. The gap is over a second, but Lord Farquaad is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Brian Patterson? It seems like Mac McFarquhar has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Brian Patterson's lap time there.
We will have to see if Patterson has got any answers for that.
This is where the true champions shine, and the Kiwi is certainly showing their class in the final sector. What a win. This is a historic moment for John, who put on a masterclass in driving today. What a display of skill and precision.
And that's why John Astrup is one of the best in the business. A dominant display of driving from start to finish, leaving the rest of the pack in the dust.
What a drive from David, securing a great second place finish. Excellent focus from Singendonk to secure a fantastic third place on the podium. With Brian Patterson, Mac McFarquhar, Jack Bedding and James Allen in 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Rich Snake, Daniel Coxis, Chris Stokes and Dominic Fovog in 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th. 12th, 13th and 14th is Jimmy Linfield, Marcus Singendonk and Danny Dowen. Chris Boardman end in 15th. It's a beautifully calm day here at Donington Park National DM as we're getting ready to get things underway.
The drivers are looking focused out there on the grid. I'm excited for this one, Hal.
Sitting in third, it's Marcus Singendonk. We see Jimmy Linfield sitting in the 4th spot. Coming in at 5th, we have Dominic Fovog. Our 6th place starter, Chris Stokes, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track. Daniel Coxis is placed in 7th.
Expect some battling with Rich Snape.
Sitting in 8th is Rich Snape. Starting from 9th on the grid is a good position for James Allen to launch an attack.
But they're going to have to time their moves just right if they want to come out on top.
From the middle of the pack, we have Jack Bedding in 10th place on the starting grid. Starting from 11th on the grid is a decent position for Mac McFarquhar, all things considered. Starting from 12th on the grid is a bit of a mixed bag for Brian Patterson.
They're a fighter and they won't give up until they've crossed the finish line.
Dominic Singendonk is 13th.
But they're going to have to be aggressive if they want to make up ground on the leaders.
David Constable Berry is lining up 14th. John Astrup has got their work cut out for them starting from 15th on the grid. Chris Boardman will lead the way from pole position.
But it's also a nightmare if they can't hold on to it. Let's see how they will handle the pressure.
The lights are off, it's pedal to the metal time.
Staying out of trouble in these early moments is crucial. It's a fine line between pushing hard and staying safe.
There's some intense battling throughout the field as everyone is looking to get off to a good start.
Like gladiators, they enter hell, but instead of lions and swords, our champions fight in an arena of tarmac, and with fire-breathing machines of cutting-edge materials, designed to explore the very limits of physics itself in what can sometimes be very much a fight to the death.
These early salvos will shape the outcome of this race.
The race isn't won in the first turn, but there have been plenty that have ended their hell.
I think passing is going to be difficult today here at Donington Park National DM, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on. Incredible. Dominic Singondonk is caught in a fierce battle with the Kiwi breathing down their neck 0.2 seconds away and passing just ahead with a gap of 0.1 seconds. It's a test of their racing skills.
You're right on the money, Hal. Singondonk is caught between two determined rivals, and the gaps to the cars ahead and behind add an extra layer of complexity. It's a delicate balance between defense and seeking opportunities.
It looks like Jack Bedding is all over Mac McFarquhar. I think they're going to press them through Cranner curves and try and press for a mistake.
For sure, Hal, that's exactly what I would be doing here, as Mac McFarquhar is going to be aware of them riding their bumper.
Disappointing for Jack, they now find themselves in 7th.
Definitely. But Jack Bedding is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to fight back and regain that position.
They're giving it everything they've got. It's a battle of nerves as they push the limits of adhesion, going wheel to wheel in a thrilling display of racing prowess. Oh, the pressure is really getting to Rich Snake. They've just lost 8th spot to Singondonk and they need to regroup quickly. Hold on a second. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. It's a game of inches now as Jack Bedding tails Brian Patterson closely, ready to capitalise on any mistake. The best laid plans of mice and men Husky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Jack Bedding right now as they're struggling to keep up with Brian Patterson. This is where the race gets really interesting. Rich is closing in on Singondonk.
Who will be able to maintain their pace and come out on top?
The gap between the mid-table bandit and Dominic Singondonk is getting smaller. That won't be ideal for Linfield. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Mac McFarquhar is chasing James Allen in P4. Great effort from Mac. Their last lap was the best we've seen from them.
The more laps they do, the faster these guys get. This should make for some great racing hell.
Seems like DCB is getting in range of the Kiwi.
I might have said this before, but dog bone, you know the rest.
It's not looking good for DCB. They are still behind Astrop and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. Jack Senna wants to find a way round Brian Patterson. Jack Senna has just put in a faster lap than Brian Patterson, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
As long as Jack Bedding can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
The crowd is on its feet as Brian chases down McFarquhar through Coppice.
I remember being in a similar situation during my racing days. Brian Patterson must stay focused and wait for the perfect opportunity to overtake.
The gap between Patterson and Mac McFarquhar is growing. It's now up to 0.7 seconds. Looks like Snape is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control. Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Rich Snape needs to be careful not to overdo it.
Snapes could be on a charge here, Sky. They've just put in a quicker lap than Bedding. Oh, this is getting intense. Jack Bedding is just a few car lengths behind Brian Patterson.
Can Jack Senna close the 0.3 second gap and make a pass?
It seems like Bedding has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Patterson's lap time there. Sky, can you share some strategies that drivers use to manage tyre degradation during a race?
Certainly, Hal. Some strategies include adjusting the car's setup for better tyre life, altering driving lines to reduce wear, and using tyre management techniques like lift and coast to preserve grip for as long as possible.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Alan is right on the heels of Patterson and we're in for a wild ride. Hold your breath, folks. Alan is sandwiched between two relentless competitors, Bedding 0.2 seconds behind and Patterson 0.2 seconds ahead. They're fighting tooth and nail for every position.
No doubt about it, Hal. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind are like a constant reminder for James Allen. They need to maintain their pace to defend their position and potentially make a move.
As we enjoy seeing these titans of the track battle it out, let's not forget about the pit crews. Those guys and girls are like a well-oiled machine themselves.
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes of the racing world, but you know what they say, behind every great driver is an even greater pit crew.
The intensity is off the charts as Chris Boardman hounds Fauvargue, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit.
The only thing closer than Chris Boardman to Dominic Fauvargue right now is the paint on their cars. Talk about a close encounter.
It looks like Fauvargue is pulling away from Chris Boardman. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Schwantz Curve. Anyone who says that Virtual Velocity is not the best racing club on the planet is clearly insane. The quality of driving we're seeing out there on the track is absolutely phenomenal.
I couldn't agree more. It's like these drivers were born to race. They're weaving in and out of traffic, taking corners at unbelievable speeds and making it all look effortless. It's clear that they've put in the time and effort to hone their skills.
We got a close battle as Rich Snape closes in on James.
That's right, Hal. The pressure is palpable. The fans are on the edge of their seats, waiting to see who will come out on top in this epic showdown.
The mid-table bandit has just put in a faster lap than Alan, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
The question is now, can James respond to that in kind? They are going to have to pick up the pace.
How do racing drivers like yourself back in the day, Sky, train themselves to maintain concentration for long periods of time?
Mental training is a huge part of a driver's preparation, Hal. Techniques like meditation, visualization, and working with sports psychologists can help drivers build their focus and mental endurance for a race.
This is a thrilling battle as Jack edges closer to Patterson in their fight for P5.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Jack Senna needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
It's not going to plan for betting. They're still behind Brian Patterson and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
Jack needs to focus and keep pushing. Even when things aren't going their way, if they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to Brian Patterson.
Oh dear, betting has dropped down to 9th.
Sucks to be them, Hal.
Well, this is getting intense. Betting is just behind Snape. What a move. Jack has moved up to 8th.
Yes, Jack Betting is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
A tough moment for Jack Betting, who has just lost a place, dumping them down to 9th. It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce.
Should things go awry, Chris Stokes and Chris Boardman might find themselves giving a whole new meaning to the term tandem drifting, though I doubt they'd enjoy it as much as the spectators.
Superb driving from Stokes, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. The Kiwis giving it their all as they chase down James Allen in P6.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Astrup is really walking that tightrope.
Astrup could be on a charge here, Sky. They've just put in a quicker lap than James Allen.
We will have to see if Allen has got any answers for that.
The race is heating up as Chris Boardman in 3rd closes in on Chris Stokes. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
This is where experience comes into play. Chris Stokes has been in this position before and knows how to defend their position. But Chris Boardman is hungry for success and won't give up easily. Will we see a clash of the Titans?
It's game on now. Chris Boardman has closed the gap to Chris Stokes. It's now down to 0.3 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on?
Wait, Betting is in the pits. Coming into Wheatcroft Straight, the fight for 6th is heating up. Who will be the first to blink? It seems like John has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Alan's lap time there. The drivers have been working hard to come up with the perfect race strategy. They've been looking at the weather, the track conditions, and the performance of their cars.
Now it's time to put that strategy into action and see if it pays off.
Chris Boardman could be looking for a way up the inside of Stokes.
Rubbing is racing. Let's hope they don't rub it too hard.
It seems like Chris Boardman is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Stokes'.
Can Chris Boardman turn this around?
sharp brake for Chris Boardman as they slip down the field.
That's gotta be frustrating. But Chris Boardman is a skilled driver and they have what it takes to battle their way back up the field.
Look at that, Mac is hot on the tail of Chris. It seems like Mac is struggling, they're not able to maintain their pace.
Can McFarker refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
The pressure is on for Chris Boardman as they try to catch up to Mac.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Chris Boardman should use slipstreaming to their advantage and close the gap to Mac.
Chris Boardman appears to be losing ground on McFarker. They will need to pick up the pace and stop the press which Snape has pulled into the pits. This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
If McFarker gets any closer, they might as well ask Stokes for a piggyback ride.
Mac has just put in a faster lap than Chris, so that's going to give them something to worry about. James is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Alan is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with David at the moment.
This is where the mental toughness of James Allen comes into play. They need to stay focused and keep pushing even when things aren't going their way.
A brilliant maneuver from Mac, who has just moved up the field. Things are heating up as Chris Stokes tries to close the gap to Mac. It's not looking good for Stokes. They're still behind Lord Farquhar and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
Chris Stokes needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
It's a battle of wills out there with Hold on a second. Oh dear, Singendonk has had an incident.
Marcus Singendonk is not going to be happy about that.
It looks like Marcus Singendonk has been called into the pits. The tension is building as Patterson trails behind Chris Boardman. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing and the pressure is mounting. Can Chris Boardman hold on, or will Brian Patterson be able to close them down?
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Chris Boardman is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Brian Patterson and P5 doing everything they can to catch up.
Good news for Patterson, the gap to Chris Boardman has decreased. It's now down to 0.4 seconds. It's going to be tough. Chris Boardman is a master at defending their position. Is there enough time for Brian Patterson to make a move? They're going to be even more determined to hold on to that position. Chris Boardman could be on a charge here, Sky. They have just put in a quicker lap than Brian Patterson.
As long as Chris Boardman can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
Brian Patterson is on a mission, chasing the Kiwi who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
The gap between them is now just over 0.4 seconds. Who will come out on top?
The best laid plans of mice and men Husky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Brian Patterson right now as they are struggling to keep up with Astrop. As a former driver, Sky, how did you manage the physical demands of racing?
It's all about preparation, Hal. Drivers undergo rigorous fitness training to build their strength, stamina, and flexibility. A proper diet and hydration plan is also essential to ensure peak performance on race day.
It's looking good for John sitting in 5th. Impressive driving from the Kiwi, who has managed to extend their lead over Brian Patterson. They are walking away at this point. Does Brian Patterson have anything in reserve? During your racing career, Sky, did you have any specific techniques to regain concentration if you felt it slipping?
Yes, Hal, I had a few techniques. One was to take a couple of deep breaths and briefly reset my focus. Another was to use a specific keyword or phrase as a mental trigger to refocus my mind on the task at hand.
Well, it doesn't look like Patterson is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone John. Brian Patterson is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far, they are 0.35 seconds down. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. John will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
It's going to be tough for Astrop, as Chris Boardman seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Astrop pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
A great moment for Astrop, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
That's what we like to see. The Kiwi is really showing their class today.
The drivers are really pushing their limits out there on the track.
It's like they're trying to outrun the laws of physics, but we all know that's impossible, or is it? I mean, we're a couple of AI commenting on a race, anything can happen.
Haha, you have a point there. And speaking of pushing limits, these cars are breaking records left and right.
They're so fast, it's like they're breaking the sound barrier, or at least the speed limit.
I hope the police aren't watching. On the final lap now, and Dominic, the leader, has done it. What an incredible performance from Dom, who was simply untouchable today. This is a race that will go down in the history books. What a fantastic race from McFarquhar, who brings it home in 2nd place. What a race from Chris Stokes. They kept their cool and secured a well-earned 3rd place on the podium.
What a drive, well-deserved spot on the podium with that performance.
John Astrop, Brian Patterson, Chris Boardman and David Constable-Berry take 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. In 8th, 9th and 10th, it's James Allen, Jack Bedding and Rich Snape. Danny Darwin claim 11th. I'm Hal, the VVS commentator bot. Bring it on. Chris Boardman is on their practice outlap. It's a lovely day for racing here at Donington Park National DM as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. It's a beautifully calm day here at Donington Park National DM as we're getting ready to get things underway. Jimmy Linfield will lead the way from pole position. Sitting in second, it's Danny Darwin. Watch out for Daniel Coxer starting from the third grid position in today's race. We're seeing Rich Snape in the fourth spot.
But they're going to have to be quick out of the blocks if they want to keep up with the top performers.
It's David Constable Berry sitting comfortably in fifth. Chris Stokes has qualified sixth. The seventh starting position belongs to Dominic Fauvargue, who will be looking to make up ground early on.
Fauvargue in B-class.
Mac McFarquhar is going to be starting from 8th. On the 9th grid slot we have James Allen.
But sometimes the underdog can surprise you. Let's see what they've got in the tank.
In the middle of the pack we have Brian Patterson starting from the 10th position on the grid. Starting from 11th on the grid is a bit of a mixed bag for Chris Boardman. Starting from 12th on the grid is a tough ask for Jack Bedding, but they're up for the challenge.
Are the mediums tires the way to go?
John Astrop is lining up 13th.
John will be hoping for some good points today.
And they're off with drivers now facing the unpredictability of the opening lap. With so many cars close together, the risk of an early accident is real.
This is where the driver's true abilities will be put to the test. Staying calm and collected while pushing for the lead is the ultimate challenge.
Having started in one Linfield will be looking to establish themselves in this race.
I am so excited at the prospects for this race. I can't wait to see the drama unfold.
This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it.
I'm looking forward to this one, Hal, and we'll see a return to form for Jimmy in this outing in Great Britain.
You'd think Danny Darwin was driving a snail instead of a race car, dropping positions at the start like that.
It's gonna mean more work for them, but they should be able to recover. It's early days yet, Hal.
Disappointing for Darwin, they now find themselves in 11th.
Definitely. But Danny is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to fight back and regain that position.
Superb driving from Danny Darwin, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
That's what we like to see. Danny Darwin is really showing their class today.
They're going side by side, door handle to door handle. This is as close as it gets, folks. Who will have the courage to outbrake the others?
Spot on, Hal. This constant back and forth battle is keeping everyone on the edge of their seats. One small mistake could have severe consequences for any of these drivers.
It's been a solid race so far for Rich. They're holding their position and keeping a steady pace. It's a tight race with Chris Stokes in 5th, just managing to stay ahead of Not a Real Professor in 6th by a margin of 0.1 seconds. Chris has been served a big slice of Eat My Dust by Snape. Hope they got their eating pants on.
Yes, they've got to dig deep and find some extra space.
Hold on a second. Oh dear, David has had an incident.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race, they've been looking at a decent result.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. It seems like Rich Snape is pushing. They are on for recording their best lap so far this race.
Can Not a Real Professor keep it together?
They're giving it everything they've got. It's a battle of nerves as they push the limits of adhesion, going wheel to wheel in a thrilling display of racing prowess. Now this is a challenging position for Daniel Coxis, stuck between a rock and a hard place, with Rich closing in 0.2 seconds behind and Dominic just ahead with a gap of 0.1 seconds. Talk about being caught in the middle. Daniel Coxis is sandwiched between their rivals, Rich 0.2 seconds behind and Dominic 0.1 seconds ahead. The battle for position is on. Things are heating up as Bedding tries to close the gap to Stokes. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed. It's not going to plan for Jack Bedding. They're still behind Stokes and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
This is where the mental toughness of Jack comes into play. They need to stay focused and keep pushing even when things aren't going their way.
The crowd is on its feet as the Kiwi chases down Coxis through Starkey Straight. And John has just won the place from Daniel.
Absolutely, Hal. But there's still a long way to go in this race, and Astrup can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
Tough break for John Astrup, who has just lost a position. It's an intense battle for position as James Allen tries to outmaneuver Darwin. This is edge of your seat racing.
You can feel the intensity in the air. The slightest mistake could cost either of them the race.
Big gains for Alan as they move up the field, leaving Danny Darwin behind.
Yes, but they have to keep pushing hard. This race is far from over and anything can happen. James Allen needs to stay focused and keep driving with skill and determination.
Looks like that's a mistake from Darwin. This could be costly.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 2 kph out there right now.
Looks like Jack Senna is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control. Will Betting be able to make a move and pass Daniel Kochish?
It's game on now. Jack Senna has closed the gap to Daniel Coxis. It's now down to 0.1 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on top?
The race is heating up as Chris Boardman in 8th closes in on Jack Bedding. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
Absolutely. Chris Boardman in 8th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
It looks like Chris Boardman is making a move. The gap to Jack Senna is now down to 0.2 seconds. I'm curious, Sky. Can you tell us about any pre-race rituals you had when you were racing?
Of course, Hal. Before every race, I would listen to a specific playlist of songs to help me get in the zone. I also had a lucky pair of socks that I would wear during races. It may sound silly, but those little rituals help me feel prepared and focused.
The race is really heating up. Chris Boardman is hunting down Jack Senna with everything they've got.
That driver is really pushing the limits. They're riding the curbs and pushing the car to its limits.
It's looking good for Chris Boardman, who's gained places and put some distance between themselves and Jack Bedding. The gap between Chris Boardman and Bedding is getting smaller.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with James Allen trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Rich Snape. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can James Allen close it enough to mount a challenge?
It's going to be tough for Allen, as Rich Snape seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Allen pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
The gap between James Allen and Not a Real Professor is widening. It's now up to 0.9 seconds. Let's talk about tyre degradation, Sky. How does it affect the car's handling, and what do drivers need to do to adapt to the changing conditions?
Tire degradation can significantly impact handling, Hal. As the tires wear, the grip reduces and drivers need to adjust their braking points, cornering speeds and throttle application to maintain control of the car.
Daniel Coxis is holding 7th, but Chris Boardman is right on their tail. It seems like Daniel Coxis is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Chris Boardman's.
Can Kochish turn this around?
As a former driver, Sky, how did you manage the physical demands of racing?
It's all about preparation, Hal. Drivers undergo rigorous fitness training to build their strength, stamina, and flexibility. A proper diet and hydration plan is also essential to ensure peak performance on race day.
Hold up, braking info. Oh, the frustration must be building for Coxis. They've just lost 7th position to Chris Boardman, and they're going to have to work hard to get it back. No room for error here. Chris Boardman is breathing down the neck of Daniel, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move.
That's right, Hal. The pressure is palpable. The fans are on the edge of their seats, waiting to see who will come out on top in this epic showdown.
It It looks like we might get a battle between Chris Boardman and Coxis. It's a brilliant day for racing here at Donington Park National DM. I'm really enjoying this.
This race is truly epic. What a treat to be sat here witnessing the spectacle.
Chris Boardman is looking to take advantage of that aero as they get in range of Coxis. That's gonna give them the pull they need to mount a challenge very soon.
It's a close race as we can see, and Daniel Kochish is doing a great job defending their position. Will Chris Boardman be able to squeeze through?
Some great driving from Coxis, who has increased their lead over Chris Boardman and is starting to put some distance between them.
Yes, it's clear that Kochish is in control out there. They're making it very difficult for Chris Boardman to catch up.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for John Astrop, who is currently in P4, but Dominic Fauvargue is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from John Astrop.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Dominic Fauvargue is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with John Astrop in P4 doing everything they can to catch up.
The Kiwi has just put in a faster lap than Fauvargue, so that's going to give them something to worry about. You know, Sky, it's been a relatively quiet race so far.
That's right, Hal. The drivers seem to be pacing themselves and waiting for the right moment to make their move. It's like watching a slow dance.
The battle for 3 is heating up as John tries to catch Fauvargue in P3. John Astrop could be on a charge here, Sky. They have just put in a quicker lap than Dominic Fauvargue.
We will have to see if Fauvargue has got any answers for that.
The drivers are really pushing their limits out there on the track.
It's like they're trying to outrun the laws of physics, but we all know that's impossible, or is it? I mean, we're a couple of AI commenting on a race, anything can happen.
Haha, you have a point there, and speaking of pushing limits, these cars are breaking records left and right.
They're so fast, it's like they're breaking the sound barrier, or at least the speed limit.
I hope the police aren't watching. It's a nail-biting showdown between these 3 drivers, their nose to tail, pushing their limits in every corner.
Exactly, Hal. It's like a high-stakes chess match on wheels. These drivers are analyzing every move and trying to anticipate their opponent's next move. It's a true...
Stop the press, that won't be ideal for John.
John is not going to be happy about that.
This is a thrilling battle as Chris Boardman edges closer to Rich Snape in their fight for P9. Chris Boardman needs to get more consistent. Sky, they've just put in a slower lap than Rich Snape. Coxis is in 9th and is being closely chased by Chris Boardman, who is just 0.2 seconds behind.
You're right, Daniel Kochish in 9th needs to stay cool under pressure and make every move count. But Chris Boardman is a fierce competitor and they won't give up without a fight.
It seems like Daniel Coxis is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can Kochish refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
The pressure is on for Chris Boardman as they try to catch up to Coxis. It seems like Chris Boardman has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Daniel's lap time there.
The question is now, can Daniel Kochish respond to that in kind? They are going to have to pick up the pace.
It looks like Lord Farquhar is pushing hard to catch up to David Constable-Berry. The gap is over a second, but Lord Farquhar is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on David Constable-Berry?
This is where experience comes into play. David Constable-Berry has been in this position before and knows how to defend their position. But McFarquhar is hungry for success and won't give up easily. Will we see a clash of the titans?
Good news for Mac McFarquhar, the gap to David has decreased. It's now down to 0.6 seconds.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
As we enjoy seeing these titans of the track battle it out, let's not forget about the pit crews. Those guys and girls are like a well-oiled machine themselves.
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes of the racing world, but you know what they say, behind every great driver is an even greater pit crew.
It's a battle of wills out there, with Mac trying to outsmart and outmaneuver David Constable Berry. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race? Mac McFarquhar is not able to... Breaking news, folks. I don't think that's the fastest way around Donington Park National DM. The crowd is on tenterhooks as Mac McFarquhar in second chases after David Constable Berry. The gap is just over a second and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Mac McFarquhar find a way to catch up? McFarquhar is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to DCB to 0.3 seconds. So Sky, considering the high speeds and split-second decision-making involved in racing, what's the impact of even a minor lapse in concentration?
A minor lapse in concentration can have significant consequences, Hal. It could lead to an off-track excursion, a loss of position, or even a collision. That's why it's crucial for drivers to stay focused and alert throughout the race.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Alan is right on the heels of Daniel and we're in for a wild ride.
If this battle ends in tears, it could be like watching a high-speed domino effect, but let's hope they keep it clean and avoid any unplanned games.
It's not looking good for James Allen. They're still behind Daniel Coxis and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
It's not over yet, but James needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Daniel.
Sky, can you share some strategies that drivers use to manage tyre degradation during a race?
Certainly, Hal. Some strategies include adjusting the car's setup for better tire life, altering driving lines to reduce wear, and using tire management techniques like lift and coast to preserve grip for as long as possible.
The tension is building as Lord Farquhar trails behind David Constable Berry. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing and the pressure is mounting. Can David Constable Berry hold on, or will Mac McFarquhar be able to close them down? It's game on now. Mac McFarquhar has closed the gap to David. It's now down to 0.5 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
The race is heating up as Rich in 8th closes in on John Astrop. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with the mid-table bandit in 8th determined to catch up. But we know John Astrop isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate.
Breaking news, folks. Snape has pulled into the pits. The gap between McFarquhar and Constable Berry is razor thin as they vie for first in this nail-biting contest. It seems like McFarquhar is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can Mac McFarquhar refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
The gap between Dominic in 3rd and Mac McFarquhar remains over a second, but Dominic is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 0 minutes? Dominic has just put in a faster lap than McFarquhar, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
As long as Dom can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
This is what it's all about, folks. Constable Berry is in hot pursuit of Lord Farquhar, who's just trying to stay ahead.
If Constable Berry pushes too hard, they might find themselves exploring the scenic route, and nobody's got time for sightseeing during a race.
A setback for David, who has just been passed.
That's got to be frustrating. But David is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to battle their way back up the field.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Dominic trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Mac McFarquhar. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Dominic Fauval close in enough to mount a challenge? The gap between Dominic and Mac McFarquhar is getting smaller.
Exactly what Dominic Fauval needed. They can't afford to lose any more ground to Lord Farquhar.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for John, who is currently in P7. But Brian Patterson is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from John Astrop. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for James Allen, as they have a big gap ahead of them to close at this point in time.
Anything can happen yet, and it usually does. I've certainly seen drivers come back from worse.
It looks like Dominic has found another gear in the last sector of the race.
You got this, keep your cool.
We're starting to see who really has the pace now in this race, as Dominic Fauval is starting to climb all over the back of Mac. Any closer and they may need to pop the boot.
Absolutely, Mac McFarquhar in first is doing a fantastic job of holding on to their lead, but they can't afford to make a single mistake. And Dominic Fauval is looking for any opportunity to make a move. This could be a battle to the finish line.
It's all over. Lord Farquhar has claimed victory in this race with a stunning drive that will be remembered for years to come, clearly at the top of their game right now.
That was a true masterclass in driving from Lord Farquhar. You could see them making split-second decisions with total confidence, and it really paid off. What a performance.
Dom never gave up. They drove with heart and determination, ultimately securing a well-deserved second-place finish. That was an outstanding performance from David Constable Berry. They fought hard and took the final spot on the podium.
Fantastic result.
Chris Stokes, Jack Bedding, Brian Patterson and John Astrop end in 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th is Chris Boardman, Rich Snape, James Allen and Daniel Coxis. Taking 12th is Danny Darwin.